All right, welcome everyone. It is October 18th, 2022, and we are here just after 2:30 for the Athens-Clarke County Office of Operational Analysis Relaunch Committee meeting, our third committee meeting. We have a handful of items on the agenda today, kind of following approval of the minutes. We'll talk a little bit about staffing considerations when Assistant HR Director Laura Welch arrives. We'll get some input as requested in the last meeting from Commissioners Denson and Myers regarding ACC charter provisions and observations from peer communities. And then we'll discuss elements of a resolution for consideration of the full commission that would probably include the committee structure, the work plan, and then the hiring or staffing process. So first order of business is approval of the minutes from Thursday, October 18th, and I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion from Tim Denson, second from Carol Myers for approval of the minutes from October 11th. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Laura, welcome. Good to see you. Another time today. Laura, as you probably saw, sent out position descriptions for the auditor, the kind of chief position, as well as for the analyst and coordinator roles. Did anybody have questions about that? Or Laura, I don't know if you want to make some observations just about kind of the relative merits of those two subordinate positions.
Yeah, we have several, and I don't know if y'all printed them off, and I have hard copies if you need it. But we have several job descriptions that have management analyst as the title in several departments. And we have several positions with coordinator in the title over several departments. But I've given you the coordinator for the DA's office and the management analyst for the the coordinator for the chief data officer. And then the management analyst position that is in police. It's just a basic outline of how those job descriptions would look. And if you notice that a coordinator position carries a starting salary of $3,000 higher than a management analyst, but it requires a little bit more experience. And then we have the auditor job description as well. You need copies?
Yes, I'd like.
That's coordinator. This is management analyst.
Laura, in functional terms, would you expect that in a very small office, like we're talking about, that the analyst and coordinator would largely do the same things? Coordinator, again, a little more experience, maybe a little senior. And then I guess maybe second thought on that is, could you anticipate a dynamic where somebody may be hired as an analyst, but then have a little bit of opportunity for promotion into a coordinator role? I mean, would that also be a prospect?
These are two separate job titles, so we couldn't do a career ladder with these two job titles, but certainly a coordinator is much more geared toward project management. And is in practice a little bit more concerned with tasks and issues that might go across the government. And for instance, all of the coordinators in HR deal with work that spans the entire government. For example, our contracts analyst reviews contracts from all departments. Our budgets analyst, our benefits analyst is helping people across the organization. So the coordinator level is just a little more far-reaching. But you could do sort of a career ladder. You could create, it would take some time. It would have to go through the budget process, but you could have a management analyst and a senior management analyst where one is, where you have a natural progression from one level to another within the office.
Okay.
We do not currently have senior management analysts in the job inventory. So that would be a new position that would have to be created by the mayor and commission.
I do want to make sure, one of the things I saw in here was that the person hired for both of these jobs has specific enough professional experience or commitment and interest to the auditing professional development world, with the kind of training that one could get. And I don't know if that makes a difference in
It does.
how one would position.
In both of these positions, under the coordinator position, and you could tailor this to the auditor's office. Under the minimum requirements, that's where you would specify the exact areas of training where you would want. For instance, in the one for coordinator, they require data analytics, statistics, IT, public administration degree. So that is going to be a very data-driven job description. If you were tailoring this to the auditor's office, you might want more knowledge in policy analysis, policy implementation, cost benefit analysis, things like that, not so much in statistics. But you can certainly change them.
So in the prior version of the office, of course, we had an analyst. I guess as a core question, do we want to go ahead and launch with auditor and analyst, and then leave open some opportunity for that office to evolve like we talked about last time?
That's why
I mean, begin there, and then if we want to move into the senior analyst model, that becomes an opportunity in the future for that career ladder.
Would it make sense to, I know that in the auditor one, I'm looking at the minimum training and that's probably, I spoke too soon on that, to have that very, that professional, there's nothing in here in this minimum training in the auditor that actually mentions professional training in auditing. And I'd like that to be included.
As a prerequisite or as a
minimum, for that auditing position,
for the auditor.
for the auditor position.
And I think you would want to specify performance auditing as opposed to like GASB and
Yeah.
financial auditing.
So who's going to hire the coordinator and the managing, or the?
Well, that's what I was just going to follow up and say, would we want to hire the auditor, have something for direction to the auditor, and then have the auditor hire the?
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
No,
Okay.
we don't have the autonomy to
Okay.
hire a subordinate position.
All right. They're good.
That's outside our lane.
Mhm.
But just in terms of
What we would,
initiating the office, I guess a question I would have about the sort of prior operational audit experience, given the relatively unique nature of auditing for operations within local government, I would imagine we might want to look at what may be somewhat parallel kinds of activities, program evaluation. Somebody who would have some of that kind of experience, rather, because I think if we say something as narrow as we want you to have local government operational auditing experience, the universe of applicants gets
right.
small.
But right now it doesn't have anything in the minimum for the auditor. So, I think that's.
And you could actually put down certifications for prefer membership in National Association of Local Government Auditors, prefer local government experience, direct local government experience, things like that.
So for the auditor position itself, could we use some of this language that we've sort of just had under discussion and ask Laura to amend the job description for that launch? Everybody feel comfortable with that? Okay. And then again, secondly, we feel comfortable saying, all right, we're going to begin this office with a second position that auditor has the autonomy to hire, and then be clear to that person, hey, if you get 3 months in or 6 months in and recognize, hey, there's a second position that you need, another analyst, you want to elevate somebody to senior analyst and have a junior analyst, that will just be explicit in that interview and in that hire.
And at that time, right, even if they were like, well, actually, this coordinator position would be better, that second position they hired could be like
Right,
coordinator
they'd be posting during the whole thing.
Right.
So kind of provide that sway. Hey,
Yeah.
you can have an analyst or a coordinator. Once you've read those job descriptions, have some conversation with HR about what that means structurally and
Right.
functionally,
Right.
and then go ahead.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else about staffing at this point? I'm not sure again. Okay. All right. So, kind of moving on to just the kind of foundational text, whether it's, kind of from the charter directly, or whether it's the sort of more supplemental office charge. I mean, Tim, I don't know if you want to, maybe Tim, I'll have you kind of talk a little bit about the provision in the charter, which is the tiny text page that you've got in front of you.
So, yeah, I'm not sure why I printed out this way. So there's the regular black. I had that just so you could see what's currently there right now in the charter language at the top, and then just the ordinance that was passed. And the one with the blue text to show some of the changes that I tried to pull just towards some of the things that we were talking about. The top one on A, the Office Operational Analysis established. The blue there, I think, is just a little bit more flesh out and make it more transparent even to the public, like what this position does, and also incorporates, which Carol had one of the suggestions that she had pulled. It goes ahead and says controls of departments, offices, boards, activities, which we talked about, and agencies, instead of just saying department, offices, and agencies. So it stretches it out a little bit there. And then going down to B on the specific duties and responsibilities, again, just try to use some of that same language to include activities and also some oversight over our, not oversight, but be able to work with our BACs and such. On number 2, it's included the thing in a timely manner, just to give a little bit of argument there for the timeliness that's needed for this position. On 3, there was no reference to the audit committee anywhere in the ordinance at all. So I went ahead and just put in audit committee, not talking about what the structure of it would be, but just that the audit committee will be one that works in a consultation. I do think this is an important thing that I don't think we discussed as much. I was talking with Carol about this earlier. I know there's a lot of concern, and rightfully so, about trying to make sure that there's the differences of power between the manager and the auditor. But actually, in the ordinance that it creates this office in this position, it says works in consultation with the mayor and commissioners and manager to develop objective and plan assignments. I mean, that is where we're operating right now. The manager already formally has a role in that. So I think, and then
kind of reflects the notion that the manager, in the past, or,
Right.
like other constitutional officers may have said, hey, there's this department over here that needs some observation. Can you spend some time doing that?
And I think, Laura gave us some history on that was happening in the past. So I don't think that's something that's super odd. And I think we're just trying to work on to make sure that committee is structured in a way that is correct. And then just added a couple at number 7, oversees and directs the employees and operations of the Office of Operational Analysis. It's just something that I think I have noticed, and that we've talked about a little bit, that there's no direct structure there. So putting that in, and then flip it over, number 8, actually putting in the requirement. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's printed super weird. On number 8, basically saying that there is the expectation of certification and trainings, because that's come up that in the past, while we've expected, it hasn't been formalized at all, that is necessary. And then number 9, the auditor monitor position with Peace Cobb, just formalizing that there. And so and that's all the changes that I was kind of suggesting. and pulling some stuff off of Carol's. Carol's, of course, goes a lot further and talks more outside of this extremely formal scope and more about what we'd be communicating to the public.
Any thoughts or observations about the charter language?
Just to share with number 9.
Mm-hmm.
Are we being premature?
And that's something that I figure we'd want to talk about, but I guess if we're going to, I mean, we could I just do an ordinance revision again down the line, but I guess it seemed to me that part was probably going to be necessary to happen. I haven't really heard an alternative discussed. I don't know. But yeah.
Also,
I was just say the only concern I have is that in the current PSCOB ordinance, it says that like the auditor monitor title may not technically stay the same. Like it could be an auditor, a full auditor, it could be a monitor, it could be something else. But I will also say from having attended those meetings, I don't think there's any interest currently in them changing that. So I just don't know.
Maybe we could
There's a staff support.
soften that language to be more inclusive of whatever possibly could come out of it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
yes, desktop.
But yeah, and I'm happy to hear any things that people think is missing or
Can we say serve as a liaison? Develop as a liaison of the.
I mean,
Is that a good definition, terminology? Just leave it like it is. I don't want to complicate things.
or if it was auditor monitor or what, I mean, whatever I guess the attorney's office would feel like would be something that could be inclusive of whatever PSCOB comes up with. I'm not,
Do you want to
It
give
was supposed to come back to government ops too for them.
Yes.
I think it is, I guess, well, I mean, like I said, we could always just do that as a second ordinance thing later on if we needed to, just
for full clarity and given that sort of GOC work forthcoming, do we just want to defer 9 to later
Yeah.
date?
Strike
And
it
are
for now.
we going to then take something here in this movement that we make in December and make this change to the ordinance?
Well, these were
These are
recommendations I was making.
Right, but I
To
mean,
the
are we, like, if we're not officially going to do it until after we hire someone, I mean, so that.
We would do this pre-hire.
We
Yeah.
would do this pre-hire, okay,
So you're saying this is what we do in December,
yeah.
and that position will hopefully be hired up.
Yeah. I do think it's important that we have that discussion of that possibility in any kind of hiring interviews.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it only makes sense,
Right.
given that that's sort of a going concern.
Yeah.
Sherry, you to follow up?
So to the extent that it's helpful, the way we worded it in the PSCOB ordinance is that the title is Public Safety Civilian Oversight Auditor/Monitor, bearing in mind that the board may recommend a role and or title other than that of auditor monitor. So maybe we could include something like that, like, bearing in mind that pending full mayor and commission approval, that the title of auditor monitor may be altered at some point in the future. I don't
I
know.
think we decided just to strike this for now and come back to it.
That's okay.
Other than the PSCOB element, everything else track with everybody?
Thank you, Tim.
Sure thing. And Sherry, I'll send this to you. You can make sure that everything looks good.
Okay.
And just just one note on the word auditor. It kept the phone calls down. People don't want to talk to an auditor. But so I think in saying to soften that language is advisable. It's interesting. It creates a barrier in some ways.
You mean for the PSCOB?
No, I think you're meaning for
either one, actually.
Yeah.
And certainly in the charter, I know it is the auditor, and it helps very much to keep it simple like that. But in my experience, that I was never the auditor, but it's the person who holds that title is some people automatically it instills fear in that. So
Interesting.
it can have a negative.
and just like a misunderstanding to the public and I guess to employees.
Yeah, certainly, and especially with regard to performance versus financial auditing. Because a lot of people thought that we were there to do the CAFR. And I'm like, we don't have anything to do with that CAFR. That is a professional accounting firm that does that. We would certainly use the CAFR in our audits to glean information and to look at full cost analysis. But I don't know,
Well, we call
I'm
it
just
something.
throwing that out there that just
We
the,
already call it something.
what's that?
We already call
Office
it
of
operation analysis.
Right.
Which is,
It's the Office of Operational Analysis.
Right.
But the title is
yeah,
auditor. And I'm just saying for the piece of the auditor monitor is,
Program and
yeah.
I thought we just-
The liaison might be a.
Analysts definitely, I mean, as I was doing this word and reading like Carol's stuff and looking at some stuff, I was like, I actually got rid of the originally I used the word audit a few more times to describe what it did. And I was like, it just doesn't seem actually that accurate. You know, I used the word, analyze and,
Right.
review and assess.
Right.
Cause I mean,
I don't know if you want to crack this nut open, but, would we be interested in going so far as to simply change the title to operational analyst? Chief
on the other
operational.
hand, I also think that is so fuzzy that I have no idea what that
Right,
means. There's the opposite part of that.
Uh-huh.
operational analyst? Or
Like for the public, like it's an operation, like I have no idea what, I mean, we can,
Mhm.
that means either. So,
mhm.
I mean, like if I was, who would call the operational one? I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a conversation just not worth having.
Right.
You get so far into the weeds.
But maybe something, since we haven't quite cracked the nut of the auditor monitor and that
Yeah.
maybe we
That.
could have a different.
Yeah, and it may be that the auditor is the liaison to the piece of Bob,
Yeah,
and that is
right. But we can use a different
where
terminology
it's
there.
liaison, where it's operational analysis liaison.
Mm-hmm.
We've decided to talk about this later.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
right.
All right, so moving on to kind of the more sort of public-facing document that Carol's assembled, using some of our own language and some drawn from a couple of peer communities. This lays out the sort of rationale for having an Office of Operational Analysis, a mission, a set of goals, and then objectives, duties, and expectations.
Right. And, I think I did create my color scheme first, just for the record, but blue on mine means original document and black means added. And I basically
Oh,
just used the two other audit offices that are cited in that report that we had done. And one is from Oregon and one's in Kentucky. Both of well, anyway, those are the ones that were given as examples, and I used them. And looking at the back part, this is a good example of how I did it. This is the from the charter, from the ordinance, and I was just highlighted like keywords that communicate some meaning. And basically, I did that as well with all the website material, which is in blue over here. The document got so confusing that I didn't leave all that yellow highlights in there. But I was just trying to make it more, I don't know, let me just go over it there. So the first part is what's on the website already. And the Office of Operation Analysis, formerly the Auditor's Office, I don't even know if we need to do that, but that's what's there. It was created by the Athens-Clarke County Unified Government to conduct a continuing internal audit of the fiscal affairs and operations of every department, office, agency of the unified government. I don't know why the word every, I mean, I guess that's that every, we can leave that in there.
Well, I struck it from the.
Okay, because I struck it from where, so
from
of
yeah.
departments, offices, and agencies, in general, I mean, okay. The office functions to provide strategic planning, organizational analysis, feasibility, and program evaluation, staffing reviews, and other services, all with the intents of enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of government operations for the benefit of Athens-Clarke County. That was just the opening piece. I left it there. Then the mission, the Office of Operation Analysis provides quality. Some of it's repetitive, but it was originally independent and objectionable internal performance audit services so that the public employees and departments of Clarke County can feel confident that the public's interests are protected and can engage with an accountable, high-performing, and transparent local government. The Office of Operation Analysis reviews and assesses ACCUG's activities, operations, financial systems, and internal accounting controls that supports and supports the mayor and commission's adopted goals and strategies.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes,
Okay, that first paragraph, first sentence,
yeah,
can feel confident that the public interests are protected and can engage with an accountable, high-performing, and transparent local government.
uh-huh.
Seem like two separate sentences. What do you call that?
It's not a run, it's not a run-on sentence, guys.
Yeah,
It's not a run-on sentence. It's a long sentence and you might want it simplified. I can work on that. So, and I can get rid, I mean, this is, up on the top, this is a draft, that I spent a good bit of time pulling from the other just so I can understand the concepts in here. So this could all be, I mean, you can read that over and any of that, I can streamline that a little bit. I just haven't had time to do that. I think more importantly, under the goals, what I found helpful was this first area that really spelled out, this is from Kentucky, I believe, I'm not sure which one, but basically spells out what is being analyzed in all those areas. And I thought that helped me understand what the office was supposed to be doing. And that's the A through H part. So it clarified that as well. So you can read through that. I don't really know how we want to proceed here because there's a lot here. The other goal, number 2, is shall follow up on major audit recommendations as practical to determine if corrective actions have been implemented and are effective. So this is the follow-up, putting that in there. Putting in also the role in the overview commission, and then also, again, in the Peace Cub, I had that in there. And then the other duties basically as assigned here. I do want to, down in the, yeah, that's good. So then the objectives, duties, and expectations, again, I could spend a lot of time clarifying this goals versus these other words, but let's not worry about that right now. I added in the first one about the standards, completion of work in compliance with standards for the professional practice of internal auditing outlined by professional organizations such as, put that in there. Development of a work plan composed of relevant, important, and achievable annual goals. Audit engagements should be selected and designed to address high-risk potential while optimizing internal audit resources and impact. And that kind of goes again to not doing a whole department. Completion of audits in a timely manner, that was in there before. 4, active use of technology to maximize impact and improve performance. That was actually 2 different items in the original.
There's an odd formatting deal where you've got below number 3, development.
Oh, yeah. That was I crossed that out here. I'm putting that in, and that's in section number 1, so we don't need that. That was repetitive. Yeah, sorry, I didn't go over my cross out. Yeah. The commitment to working collaboratively with Athens-Clarke County manager, departments, and agencies, probably with the commission and mayor in there as well. Completed audits that contain relevant background information, observations, conclusions, and recommendations. 7, an established audit report process to include, for example, and again, a review of the audit finals draft by the department reviewed, an opportunity for that department to respond, inclusion of the response in the final report, and delivery of the final report to the mayor and commission, and availability of the final reports for public review. The submission of an annual report to the mayor and commission prior to the auditor's yearly evaluation to include observations and recommendations, corrective actions, and significant observations which have not been fully addressed the preceding year. The use of external consultants, auditors, and other professional experts necessary to perform its duties through the procurement process without, I don't even know what that means, so let's look on that more. The 10, you can just cross that out. I have no idea. That's included above. That was a separate item originally. And the two other lines below should have been crossed out. I would also put in here revision to mission goals and objectives and duties as needed so that the person could take what we have here and work with them. I also wanted to bring up a point and give an expectation that perhaps we could talk about independently, because I think it could be followed through by whoever's chosen. But there were other places have sort of a whistleblower function as well, so that there is a way for people in the organization to report fraud in a protected way. And one of them had this great way of doing it using a certain way, but according to the literature I read, that was one of the most important ways for identifying fraud and waste and misuse of public funds, is having something. But that if I'm looking back to the H on the first page, an auditor could bring that up as an idea. I don't think that we could discuss that if that's something that's needed, or bring that up in an interview situation as an idea of something that may need to be developed. But I did find one of the auditors, that one of the sites had a substantive section on
An
that.
employee portal for waste, fraud, abuse, and the like.
Exactly. The other thing is on that, so this was, I mean, it doesn't look like much, but it took me several hours to cull through these different things. That's why it's still a draft format. I thought one thing that was interesting on the top basically is that one of the municipalities actually have their audit office reviewed by a professional organization as well. That was an interesting thing. But I think the more interesting, the second box, whether or not we also wanted to include something in there about independence and objectivity, and addressing the possible conflicts between the auditor and the manager. And you could, this is just taken exactly from one of the other entities that I reviewed.
In this
Well,
in this language, you've got this remains free from influence by county management in any element, including manners of audit selection. But then, of course, in separate language, you've got the manager as.
oh, yeah. No, I mean, this was not, I didn't play with this language at all. It would have to mix with that, but
This was just a.
initial.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I just, in terms of that independence and objectivity, as this could be framed differently so that it doesn't conflict with anything else. And it could become something that was just one of the expectations in there.
And it also goes the other way, though, in which the second sentence talks about the office does not perform or have the authority over operational responsibilities of non-audit functions or duties.
Yeah.
So basically, it's very much saying like the
Everyone's staying
office
their lane.
can't get involved in the manage. Yeah. So.
And I kind of like that.
HR and start.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And under objective duties and expectations, should we include something about education or certification updates, requirements?
Yes, actually, I added that in as Tim was talking.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
Adding that to that.
Well, I like the whistleblower or whatever we want.
Yeah.
Just chose a better phrase for, but that kind of element being included. I mean, I think that could be something from the public also right now. I know there's like a little bit of a expectation from the public to be able to have some kind of way to engage with the office if necessary, and that could be another. And I guess I was thinking about the one thing that as we were going over it throws me off a little bit is like, so under the goals, to me it seems like the A through the H are really the goals. Like we're talking about like as goals, like those are the things that we want. That revenues are being properly collected, deposited account. And if we go it from that way, like that's why I see as H as being a goal. Oh wait, no, hold on. Some of these read a little bit differently, I guess. Yeah. Either way, like if we want to see, if one of our goals is to ensure that, we don't have that indications of fraud, abuse, and illegal acts like are being investigated, then I feel like that is a necessary component to have some kind of whistleblower,
Well, and it could be the development of
Yeah.
so I mean,
Work plan.
a work, like inclusion, a development of a work plan for addressing internal and external.
So given that there's a little bit of finessing, A, does anybody want to make any other substantive observations now? And then B, Carol, would you mind taking some of these suggestions and doing sort of a cleanup?
Oh, yeah, definitely so. But I wanted to see if I could, I think putting something in about the independence and not having it contradict what we say with the manager having some input into what needs to be audited. But
I think you could put that into that duties and expectations.
yeah, and take something soften, just
Yeah.
craft something from that works with and doesn't contradict what else we have here.
Right. I think the spirit of what we're saying here is that we
Yes.
don't want the office to be unfairly influenced, or their audits to be unfairly influenced by the manager's office or anybody else, with the manager. So yeah, I think
And actually, number 2 might really be, if I look at number 2 under the goals, that really might be one of the objectives, duties, and expectations.
yeah, some of that's what I was saying. Like to me, it seemed like the goals were more of the A through H, and then the ones that are numbered are kind of more of expectations and duties.
Well,
Like like being serving on the Peace Cobb.
oh, okay,
Or
yeah.
Defer to.
Or-
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, I was borrowing from different
Yeah,
places.
yeah.
here. Yeah. I guess the thing on the overview commission,
It's more responsibility.
okay,
And I wasn't sure if we needed that. I remember that there was some problems around that, and I wasn't sure if that needed to be fleshed out a little bit more.
which,
But specifically around the overview commission.
Well, I mean,
that's in the chart, I thought that was in the,
Well, it is, and I was saying, like, even whenever I was going over that, it's one of the things that was like, it seemed like it's not fleshed out enough, but I didn't feel
well, and
confident enough.
if we note that they're the sort of primary staffing entity for the review commission within here, I think that covers it.
Okay.
yeah, although having it, if we're gonna change the charter, I mean, this is saying assisting the mayor and commission and manager, it doesn't say the chief.
Yeah, that's why I wondered if
Yeah.
we wanted to have clarification, because it seemed like when they get started, it was more that the auditor was the chief person. And
Well,
here on the way it reads right now, it seems like in reality the auditor is the chief person, but the way that this is written, it sounds like they only assist the mayor and commission and manager, in which I didn't feel like the mayor and commission really had any. I mean, and they presented right, and that was like kind of it.
Maybe it should be using Patrick's words or as
Oh, be the liaison.
with the overview commission and assist, as
We'll
it
serve
is-
as the liaison between the overview commission and mayor commission, and can definitely just
Or since this is, I don't know what the overview commission says in then it has to match with that. You could just put a
doesn't say
semicolon and
much.
say serves as chief liaison in overview commission meetings or something.
yeah. I was like, if you click on that link, the section to go into, and it's still extremely vague. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Well, we really don't have much to do with it. Let's grant your appointment.
Mhm.
yeah, I guess I mean like
Yeah,
as
and
the
that's why
liaison
that
between
doesn't-
Once their
HC.
work gets rolling.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is that what part of the problem, right? Is I think once they started working, and they were like, who's actually helping us here? And there was a lot of confusion.
Mhm.
On the 2 that I was liaison, we helped them a lot.
Right. And here it seems like they're just like
Very.
your backseat to the manager and stuff, and I don't think that's actually true. And
Right, because there was a 95 one, right? And then a 2000.
95 and then 2000.
yeah.
So then we decided everything.
That's how that happened.
All right, so we've, seems like we're pretty close to having
Mhm.
kind of what we need. there's a little bit of drafting. I don't know what your feeling is in terms of how far we are along in the drafting. Do we want to proceed via email by this point? Do we want to have one more wrap-up meeting?
I think email's fine.
Well, I will say, I mean, I think we can, if we want to make an actual recommendation, like, the only thing that I will say on, I guess the ordinance is right, that's the real thing that has to, I mean, the other stuff can be changed if we, that's good, this to be more than a resolution, right? That's what would be my understanding. So,
Yes.
so on this, the only thing that I would recommend that we change is to change that number 6 when it comes to the overview commission, saying that the auditors, internal auditor and the operation of analysis will serve as liaison to the overview commission. Otherwise, that's
But with the other edits that you already.
Yeah, the blue.
yes, and also with 9 being struck completely. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
and then including the one with up to date with certifications and training is set by the mayor.
Yeah. And then then I'm fine. If Carol, I feel very comfortable with Carol just finessing this stuff and working on that.
Yeah, and especially if we're putting it as a resolution to maybe use this to update the website, but to have the person who's hired can then
Right. This is their expectation.
further. The expectation is that they will further revise this
Sure.
continuously, living document.
Okay, so for mayor and commission approval, there will be a resolution with the mission, goals, objectives attachment.
Mhm.
And updated ordinance language.
And I would really like to, I mean, it seems redundant. I mean, I was sort of embarrassed as I was reading it. You have this first part. What is this first part? And the second part, that paragraph before the mission. Why not just start with the mission?
Yeah.
I mean, you could put that serves, if it's okay with you, I will make sure, I will make that a little bit more concise. Without changing the content and intent.
And then just finally, everybody comfortable with that committee structure, a couple of people who've gotten some administrative experience, whether public or private sector, 2 commissioners, mayors ex officio.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that will also be the interview
Mm-hmm.
committee for the position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Other
I
things?
think, well, going back to what you just said about the interview, you're talking about going through the process of interviewing with the full, or with the mayor and commission, like all other boards and authorities.
No, I was talking about
For the members of the committee, for the private resident members of the
Right.
committee.
I was saying that the audit committee would be the interview entity
For the,
for the auditor, the hiring.
oh, okay. But I was, okay, I think we're on the same page. I see it as the mayor appointing those two citizen appointees.
Well, versus having,
Versus the
Right.
BAC process.
Because you're gonna need to look for somebody with that experience that you're talking
Oh, I
about.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. Yeah.
Can I-
However you think it's gonna be.
Sherry, you get some thoughts?
I was just saying, I think it depends on how you want to structure the committee. If the committee is like any other standard committee, then that would go to the mayor's appointment. If it's a commission or a board authority, then it falls to the mayor and commission per the charter.
I think it's committee.
The power.
I mean, it's, as I wrote it on there, was that something else, right? The audit committee is not actually anywhere on our ordinances or charter.
I don't believe it is.
Does that need to be added in?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. The boards, authorities, and commissions are, I think, all need to be done by ordinance, although I think a number of them have been done by resolution. I think the mayor can establish committees without an ordinance. And so I don't think that they have to be.
Okay.
We don't have an ordinance on LRC or
Yeah.
KOC.
This is in the
Yeah.
charter.
And this predated any of us, but I
Mhm.
know at one point in time, there was the Chastain Committee and the Sheets Committee. I mean, that was.
For real?
For real, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
There. And I would say sometimes it's good, especially with reestablishing the Office of Operational Analysis, to leave it out of ordinance so you have
Sure.
flexibility.
Yep. So just to follow up, it's in the charter under section 2-105, and that's the part that says, the commission may by ordinance create, change, alter, et cetera, all the different departments, boards, authorities, and commissions. But there just isn't language to that effect over any committees.
Okay, cool. I guess we're good.
All right, are all at peace?
Our piece?
All of these.
All right, so we'll get some updated language. Carol will distribute via email. I'll package this together into an agenda report that'll be in the next cycle, the November, December cycle. In anticipation of everybody's blessing, I'll kind of be thinking of some committee members.
Mhm.
We're good?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion from Hamby to adjourn.
So do we need to vote on the recommendation?
I think this was by consent. So.
Sure.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, at 3:21.